Welcome to Locker Room Lessons with JTJ. Presenting the following information with you is Jesus Delgado and Jeremiah Smith. All of the editing will be done additionally by CapCut by Thomas Payne. Thank you for tuning in to Locker Room Lessons with us, where we will cure your curiosity of all football-related questions.
Throughout many years of football, safety has been a big subject for the NFL and its players. Constant rough hits to the head and body is the main cause for many injuries occurring to football players. Since the late 19th century, many advancements have been made to ensure player safety while on the field. Football has come a long way from where it started, from no protection to a full body of pads and cover. Although current football players are protected by the issued helmets and various amount of pads, injuries still happen. The National Football League has changed the game from a war to a competition between the two opponents, with the rules and regulations of what is legal and what isn't. This has not been in effect for too long, as in the past, safety was not really a topic to be spoken about in football. Everybody wants to watch the big hits and good plays, but don't think about the effect those take on the players involved. More recently, in the last couple of seasons, the NFL has crunched down on the rules of hitting in football. In an article presented by Bleacher Report, Commissioner Roger Goodell has persistently raised the amount players get fined for their illegal hits on defenseless players. The awareness of danger in football has been raised by all people, even former players who corroborated the NFL misled the players about the real effects that football causes, such as head trauma and concussions. This conflict between players and everyone involved with the NFL made the NFL more concerned about the safety of their players. New rules were put in place to be sure that defenseless players in the National Football League were well protected from the brutal hits of the opposing team. Within Bleacher Report, the NFL's Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Ray Anderson, told CBS, quote, "Frankly, now that the notice has been given, players and coaches and clubs are very aware of what the emphasis is, and we won't have that hesitation. Everyone will be very clear on notice now that a suspension is very viable for us, and we will exercise it when it comes to illegal hits to the head and neck area and to defenseless players." End quote. Action has been taken to be positive that next to all players will be fined for any illegal hits they do, or that they will be suspended for any given amount of time. According to Bleacher Report, the NFL has made some significant changes to the rule book pertaining to the illegal hits put forth towards a defenseless player. The rules put in place are, quote, a quarterback in the act of throwing, a receiver trying to catch a pass, a runner already in the grasp of tacklers and having his forward progress stopped, a player fielding a punt or a kickoff, a kicker or punter during the kick, a quarterback at any time after a change of possession, a receiver who receives a blindside block, a player already on the ground, end quote. These rule changes within the NFL have made football safer while still being able to enjoy the game.
Washington Post has an article on series of head injuries prompt NFL to crack down illegal hits. They talk about a few people's perspectives and express their thoughts on this topic because they've been involved in it firsthand. Ray Anderson, the NFL's Executive Vice President of Football Operations, said, quote, "It seemed like every time you turned around, there was a player on the ground for an extended period," end quote. Anderson also said, quote, "We feel compelled to be aggressive and proactive. We don't want another Darryl Stingley on one of our fields," end quote. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Indianapolis Colts coach Tony Dungy said that these guys are not doing this on purpose, but they've got to lower their strike zone and change it. They had this quarterback a few years ago and said the defenders needed to change to protect their receivers.
Although the NFL has cracked down on many rough hits, their main focus is hits on the head or neck area of the player. According to the article, Collective Force of Head Hits by Ken Belson and Benjamin Mueller state, quote, "Researchers have for years posted that the more hits to the head a player receives, the more likely he is to develop cognitive and neurological problems later in life," end quote. Eric Nauman, a biomedical engineer professor at the University of Cincinnati who is not involved in the study, said the results strengthen the idea that an accumulation of subconscious hits rather than concussions was the driving force behind long-term cognitive decline. The latest data seems to support the idea that, yes, all these hits matter, they all add up, Dr. Nauman said, quote, "If you accumulate damage faster than the body can repair it, now you've got a problem," end quote. Dr. Nauman's point is that if your body is broken down and continues to break down faster than it may heal, that is a major problem to where you may not heal safely, especially head injuries. If you have a concussion and you continue to be hit in the head, it won't heal you, and you may have major neurological damage to your brain.
I'm here with Salina Central's athletic trainer, Shelby Barrett. I have a few questions for you.
How's it going, guys?
The first one is, what are your thoughts on illegal hits in football?
Well, as an athletic trainer, illegal hits are something that you never want to see. It takes a contact sport that's already pretty dangerous and just heightens the vulnerability of that athlete, the chances of them getting hurt, both themselves and the player that they're hitting, increase. So from my point of view, it's definitely something that needs to be taken seriously by refs when it happens and coaches when it comes to teaching kids how to tackle.
All right, next question is, if a kid has a concussion and a coach asks you when they can come back, what is a safe answer?
So a safe answer, although it's not coaches don't really like the answer, but the problem is every kid is different. So, someone could get hit the same way as the next kid, and it just depends on how that kid responds to a concussion. No matter what, in the state of Kansas, because of KSHA and their rules, us athletic trainers have to follow them by, if you sustain a concussion, you're immediately pulled from that event that day. You get reevaluated, and if you are diagnosed with an actual concussion, then you have to be released by a doctor. So a DO or an MD in the state of Kansas. It cannot be a physical therapist. It cannot be a nurse practitioner. It cannot be a chiropractor. It cannot be a physician's assistant. It has to be an MD or a DO. Once you're released by them, then you have to do a 5-day return to play protocol, depending on your sport, and then you're released. So at minimum, I would say a week if things go how everything's planned, but I've also had kids that it's taken them a month or two to get released. So the short answer is there isn't a specific day. It depends on the athlete, and some coaches are completely okay with that and let me do my thing, and others don't necessarily like that answer, but that is what it is.
Last question. Do you think these illegal hits should change the rules, or do you think it's some bad luck involved?
Obviously, football being such a high contact sport, some of it is bad luck. I do not think that all illegal hits are intentional by any means. I do think some of it, or a lot of it actually, starts with how the kids are taught. We have youth football, we have all those youth football camps and things like that. Those are the times that kids need to be taught properly how to tackle and how to even take a hit. On top of that, those are the times, and if the kids don't play youth football, then junior high is the time when you need to be teaching that stuff to help prevent it. Like I said, some of it can just be bad luck, and I don't believe they're all intentional, but I think if our refs stay on top of it and make it a point that if you are going to make it intentional, you're going to get in trouble for it. And if coaches make a point of, I'm going to teach my players how to receive a tackle, and I'm going to teach my players how to tackle appropriately to not save just themselves, but also who they're hitting, then that can make a world of difference.
All right, thank you. Now, we all know about football and how much it is loved around the world. The NFL regular season games averaged a whopping 17.9 million views last season, with the following Super Bowl having 123.4 million views across all streaming platforms. Tune in next time to hear why the world loves football.
Portions of this program were sponsored by Sonic. Go get your favorite drink from your famous red button, Sonic. And also, Target. Grab your needs as summer is right around the corner. Target.